Starting this day off at Costco. Hey look, there's the phone I recently purchased from the Apple store. The iPhone 16 Pro. It's $10 cheaper here. And the Apple Care is $50 cheaper here. But this is the first time I'm actually using this phone to film a vlog. I'm still on the fence as to whether or not I want to keep it, to be honest with you. I don't know. I really don't know, but I figured I may as well use it to film a vlog to determine whether or not the benefits are worth it. Plus I'm starting to use it a lot more now. But seriously, I could go return it to the Apple store, buy it here, and save myself $60. Is it worth the headache? Probably not. I don't know. But just so you know, if you want to get phones, they're literally discounted at Costco. Plus, I would get my points at Costco because I have the Costco card where I get 2% cash back. So, like, maybe I should have came here first, right? Yeah, and the warranties are definitely a lot cheaper. Here's that vacuum I picked up not too long ago. This does a great job of like vacuuming Lego, and also it blows out the other side, so it's pretty cool. So it's funny, the real reason I'm here is actually to get a new pair of shoes, because these bad boys, which I bought almost 2 years ago, are getting pretty worn. But I've got a gift card that's like $136 or something like that, burning a hole in my pocket, and I actually got this gift card by being the executive member here at Costco, where you earn 2% cash back. So it's like, oh, well, maybe I'll buy some new shoes with this gift card. But I did confirm that I would get 2% back on the phone, and it's $60 cheaper. So I would get $96 off the phone. Is it worth it to go return this phone to get $96 off? But then I would have to like take the time to transfer everything, spend, you know, a quarter of my day going to deal with that, and just be like sort of a pesky customer, you know? I don't know. It's probably not worth it. These are pretty nice though. Hey, maybe I get something a little more classy. I like getting the sport style shoes, but these ones look sort of bunk. Like I like the Adidas over the Fila, so I'm gonna cross those off. These ones here, I don't know how I feel about the Under Armours. I don't know. Then they've got those classy ones we had to look at there. I think those look pretty sweet, but they're not gonna be as comfortable, and they're not gonna be like slide on. And I'm going for comfort, you know, I like to walk my dog and all that. And then we've got these Kirkland ones here. Oh my gosh, that is next level. I don't know if I'm gonna stoop to that level. That's hilarious. Of course, we got some Lego here at Costco as well. So the Mercedes F1 car, also McLaren, Red Bull, and Ferrari. Those are retailing for $27.99 Canadian. And we also have Grogu with the hovering pram. I think that's on for a pretty good price, $80. $20 off at the register. I wonder what that retails for at the Lego store, like $120 maybe? I feel like that's a really good value. Also, the pretty pink flower bouquet, and that one's on for $60. This guy here is normally $130 Canadian dollars. That's a steal at $80. That's like 30, whatever, 35, 36, 37, whatever percentage off. I feel like that's a really good value. I feel like I should get a few of them. No, I shouldn't, because I'm going to the Lego store tomorrow, because tomorrow is Star Wars Day. Holy, that's a good deal. I think it's because like this is the normal Costco price, $100, and then they're taking an additional $20 off that. Wow. It's seriously dangerous when you come to Costco, because you just feel like buying everything for your kids and for yourself too. I think the kids would have a ton of fun with that. And look at this. Maybe I could whip some water balloons at them. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. I'm not going to do that for at least another year. One day we'll have a water balloon fight, but look at that. They could be rolling in Volkswagen. Jeez. Now that I have kids, it just opens up a bunch of opportunity here at Costco. Wow, look at these kites. When they're older. But we already have a water table for them. We already have a picnic bench for them. We've already got a lot of stuff for them. But yeah, I decided to get 5 of the Grogus. I just feel like that's an extreme deal, and these are going to make some great giveaways in the future. So there you go. Giveaways, hold on to some, etc. Holy, I might have to pick up some copper wire while I'm here as well. Another reason why I'm here though, everybody, is to grab some blueberry muffins. 2 packs for $10.99, not bad. For the studio, we like to freeze these bad boys and have them on hand. Dude, the guy in front of me has 2 sheds. Super jealous of that. So that's it, that's my haul. I know somebody's gonna come and buy all of these, and I'll be jealous of that person that does that. Because I know in like a year or 2 years when this thing retires, it'll be worth a lot more than $80. But there you go, everybody. Costco here in Canada has them for $80, $50 off their SRP. Was it 50? Yeah, like that's crazy. That's a smoking good deal. Gotta love that. No shoes. Those things just look a little bit too loafy. I much prefer my worn out Adidas. We're gonna stick with those. So I go to Costco to redeem my gift card on shoes, and I walk away with Grogu and muffins and the gift card still burning a hole in my pocket. Wait a minute, why didn't I redeem the gift card on the Grogus, on the muffin, or on the muffins, or on a new phone? Why wouldn't I do that? Rather than saving the $96, redeem the gift card and get more money off the phone. Well, that's because my phone is technically a tax write-off because I use my phone for my business. Pretty much 90% of it is for business, unless I'm texting somebody that's a friendship or phoning my mom. But other than that, I use it for my business. So it's a tax write-off, so I'm not going to redeem a gift card on something that's a tax write-off. And that's the same case for the Grogus. And then the muffins, like, well, I'm not going to redeem $10 of the gift card because it's like a paper gift certificate, and I think you got to redeem the whole thing in one shot. So whenever I come back here with Mrs. Bricksie and we do some grocery shopping, I guess we'll get $130 off the groceries. Or maybe they'll have a better selection of shoes, like worn out Adidas, or actually not worn out Adidas. That would be good. I don't know if I'm a huge fan of the Under Armour look there. No, I'm more of like an Adidas or Nike guy. Yeah, but maybe I should have got the Under Armour ones. They're like blue. I don't know if I want blue shoes. I'm usually a black and white shoe guy, you know? Getting a little bit picky. And picky shoppers shouldn't go shopping at Costco for shoes, I guess. So now that we're back at the studio, I'm going to continue working on that project, which is pretty exciting. Going to do a little campground extension. So that's good. Also, a different project. I have an electrician coming by to see if we can put dimmers on these lights. I just spoke to him on the phone. He's like, ooh, I can't remember if we need to modify the wiring to every single light fixture to do that. Like a low voltage light wiring or whatever the heck it is. And if we have to do that, then it's going to be way too much work to do it. But hopefully we can just slap dimmers into the light switches, and then we can dim the lights just because it's so bright up here. And I've already decided in my head that if we can't do it for all the lights, well, luckily, these lights up here are on their own switch. So maybe we can just do it on the 6 or 8 or whatever it is up there. So I can dim the lights up there because they're like right over your head and it gets a little bit bright and it starts to hurt the eyes after a while. I also wanted to talk to him about upgrading the fart fan in this room. The fart fan up there. So if I can upgrade that, that would be pretty fantastic. And then I wanted to ask about dropping power into that room. And then I also wanted to ask, this is going to be a big one, and I don't think he's going to be able to do it in a clean, neat, and tidy way. Should have done it pre-reno. But I'm going to ask him if he can drop a floor plug underneath this table, or if there's a way that we can run power underneath that table so we don't always have extension cords laying around. Just sort of looks ugly. That's a big ask, though. It would involve removing carpet tiles, drilling underneath the floor joists. Probably not going to do it, but I should have done it during construction. That's one regret that I have about the construction of this place. I don't have many, but that is a pretty big one there. All right, the electrician just took off and we had a pretty good meeting about the changes that I wanted to make. In regards to the plug for in there, there's two ways that we could do it. We could drop power off the conduit that feeds the plug right over there. That's powering the fridge. And that same circuit is also powering the computer and also my water cooler. So it's probably not ideal. So then we came up with the idea of drawing power off of this line right here, which is actually just feeding that plug right there. So we could actually come right there. We could go above the vent so you don't really see it. And then we could pop in through the wall, drop a power supply down, and then we've got a plug-in for the 3D printers so I don't have to run an extension cord along here. So that's awesome. He said, no problem, we can upgrade the fan. That's no big deal. Easy to do that. Now, in regards to the floor plug, I knew that one would be a little bit of a challenge. He said, depends on which way the floor joists are running. If the floor joists are running like this, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult because ideally we'd like to come off the conduit, which is feeding the plugs back there behind the bubble wrap. And then we could just drop right down, fish it through, pop up there and put it in. It wouldn't be a huge mess. It would actually be fine. He said if that's not the case, like I don't really want to drill through floor joists. So the only other option that we potentially have is to come off one of these conduits, which are feeding the plugs. You can see up behind the TIE fighters right up there. And then we could like come across, which might be a little bit ugly. We could like come around here and then pop up through the ceiling and then through the floor. And he said we could probably conceal it, right? Because you just run it around the perimeter and we're already like centered because of course this room, that room, sort of centered where you want that floor plug. So we could do that too. So we've got some options there. But in order to figure out which way those floor joists are running, we'd have to drill a big hole and just poke a little camera in there and see which way they're going. And you'll probably notice that the lights aren't dimmed right now. Nope, they're not dimmed, but they are a different temperature. So these large LED lights that I have, you can change the temperature of them to 3 different settings. I think it's 3,500, 4,000, and 5,000. 5,000 is almost like blue. 4,000 is like that. Could be wrong on these numbers. I should have took a look. It's like daylight sort of. And then the 3,500 is sort of yellowish, sort of what you use in your homes. At least I use them in my homes or in my home. And then I use the bright setting into my washroom. But what we decided to do was actually decrease it to the 3,500 up here. Once again, I could be wrong on those numbers, but it's like the yellowish tone of light. You know, you can buy the different colors of bulbs. And we also reduced the brightness to the lowest setting because there's actually 3 different settings. This is on the brightest setting. This is on the lowest setting, and it's yellow rather than daylight. How does it react with the camera? I'm not sure, but it's definitely a lot more homey, a lot more friendly on the eyes, especially after extended periods of time. And I think we're probably going to run with that, but it depends on what it looks like with like reviews and such. I think it's a fair compromise. Unfortunately, putting dimmers in all these lights would involve running specific cable to every single one, and it's a huge job. I did ask him about installing secondary lighting, and he said, yeah, like I do that all over my house. I love doing that. I have all these different unique RGB lights, sort of like what I did around there that I never turn on. But he said, what we could do is you could run it in the squares or the rectangles around the roof, and they would all connect to your phone. And then you could do like crazy themed lighting when you're like doing specific videos or whatever. So we'll see what that costs. I've always been interested in doing that. I don't know how much I would use it, but it might be pretty cool to see if I can get professional RGB lighting installed up here, because it's always been something that's on my mind. It might be a fair compromise to the dimmers, but I can definitely tell that these lights aren't as bright anymore, and it definitely feels better on the eyes. I also talked to him about one other thing, and that is ceiling fans, because it gets bloody hot up here, and the air is sort of still. There's not a whole lot of ventilation up here other than the one vent. So we could potentially install a ceiling fan there and a ceiling fan there just to get some air movement, some air circulation. He said, that's no problem. I can just run off the power off the lights, and we could even drop a little switch in so you can control them on their own switch. And there you go. So yeah,
Some exciting stuff with the Electrician. Looks like we have some solutions to some of the problems, except for the dimming lights. But I think the permanently dimmed lights up here is a fair compromise. I just airdropped some files onto the MacBook. Man, airdrop is so incredible. I'm still trying to master the iCloud. Well, I'm not still trying to master it. I haven't looked into it at all, but apparently you can have just iCloud, have all the files on this phone, like all your video, all your photos, all your stuff, and have it on the MacBook at the same time. But airdrop is so quick. It's amazing.
I think one of the strange things about having the warmer light up here and the brighter light down here is the fact that it's going to show off differently in the camera. It is what it is. I think it's worth having the warmer light up here just because it's a little easier on the eyes. But when you zoom in with the iPhone, which can go right up to 15 times zoom, it gets a little bit fuzzy and there's a little bit of a jitter there when it switches between the cameras. But I'd say it's pretty sweet. And keep in mind, this is only 1080p too. So yeah, definitely a good camera. And something funny to note about the camera is the fact that I still have the lens protectors on because I'm still not sure if I'm going to keep this phone, but I'm slowly selling myself on it and I'll come up with my decision over the next day or so. Very good camera though. The video quality is pretty sweet, even in 1080p. Nice. So recently I got an iPhone and I'm maybe converting from Samsung to iPhone. I did a little comparison video the other day. Mainly in regards to video, I think this has a better video camera. With that zoom wheel, it's incredible, but I think this has a better photo camera, if that makes sense. Just a better camera for picture taking with better zoom. Functionality-wise, I think both are really good, but I think Samsung has some key advantages that I really like. For example, when I open my messaging app here, this is a random text message. This is incredible. When I go to the keyboard, it actually has a built-in clipboard. When I click right there, it's a built-in clipboard and you can actually pin your clipboard. So you've got all these things that I've copied. This is just a bunch of random stuff that I copied for this exercise, but I can click on them and I can pin it to the clipboard. And that's all the stuff that I recently copied and pasted. Like, how cool is that, right? It is just amazing. I think that's so handy when you want to copy TikTok videos and share them with somebody and you want to copy multiple of them, or if you have like links that you're using all the time or whatever it is, I think having the clipboard is super handy. Of course, there's different types of clipboards that you can have on here, but they're more so like separate applications. Another thing that I really like about Samsung over Apple is the back button. The back button is incredible. I can just hit back and it's going to take me to the previous screen on whatever app I'm on. So for example, if I'm on Instagram and I see something and I keep clicking and clicking and clicking and like, oh no, I need to get back to where I was before. I hit the back button, back button, back button, back button, and it's going to get me there eventually. So I think the back button is something that I'm so used to using and I just love the functionality of that. Something else that I really like about Samsung is this button here, which will actually open up all the apps. Of course, iPhone is identical pretty much, so I can't really say that that's a benefit of Samsung. But what I like about it is if you have a bajillion apps open, you can just hit the close all button. You can't do that on iPhone. There's no close all button. It sort of boggles my mind. Why wouldn't there just be a close all button? Come on, why do I got to swipe up so many times? It seems inefficient. And I'm the type of guy that doesn't like having a ton of apps open at once. So if I accidentally open up a bunch, I want to be able to close them all instantly. There's a couple other things as well. Of course, I got the Samsung S23 Ultra here, which is a lot larger because it's the Ultra. So I can fit more apps per page, which I do like. But of course, I could just do that with the iPhone 16 Pro. So that's not really a benefit. And I'm actually liking the smaller size of this phone. So that's just up to the user. You can get whatever one you want. Now, I was mentioning that I'm a Google person and I want to try and make this a Google phone and I want to try and have it be perfect and try and replace everything that Siri does with Google because that's what I'm used to with my Android. But the reality is you shouldn't take an Apple product, whether it be a MacBook or an iPhone, and try and make it an Android or a PC. You should just use it as such because it's going to be most efficient that way. So I just have to learn how to adapt to those different things with the iPhone.
If I want to update my Google Task, just open the Google Task and do it. Or there's different ways that you can patch it so that you can have Siri do it, but it's more of like a runaround. So in general, I am liking the iPhone. It's essentially the same. It's just operates slightly different. But the lack of the clipboard is sort of weird to me. Also, the lack of a back button is so instinctual to me. Sometimes applications will put you into a screen where there's not a back button built into the app, so that back button is pretty cool. And I like how that universal back button will bring you from one app to another. Or if you have, say you haven't been on Instagram for a while and you're like, oh, when I'm on this random page, you hit back a couple times, it's going to revert you back to where you were. So I think the Samsung back button is a legendary feature that every phone should have. But other than that, I mean, Siri's taking care of a bunch of stuff for me, and I'm getting used to that. And I think the camera is pretty legit. And of course, I'm not using the Samsung camera right now. But yeah, we got some exciting stuff at Costco there with the Grow Glues, which are on the shelf there. I think the reduced brightness of these lights is quite nice. Had a positive chat with him, or the electrician, about the other stuff as well. Yeah, it's a good way to start the day. Now, after all that, I'm going to continue working on that project down there. Look forward to it. Hope you enjoyed this vlog. Please remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. Farewell.